So real quick, before this app shut down, there was a lot of controversy over Deathstroke and Captain America. Well, I just want to throw my 2 cents into this and say that definitely Deathstroke is superhuman. And the way I've come to this conclusion is not just by comics. I mean, everybody on here who put in their 2 cents has done all the work and research for you to see that Deathstroke is superhuman and all that other good stuff. But from my research, and that being the role playing games, and then a separate role playing game on how these things are going, um, it's quite clear that Slade is superhuman. Okay, so what do I mean by role playing games? Well, as most people were playing D&D, I played the game called Heroes Champions. I also played Marvel's Adventures and DC's role playing game. I forget what that thing is called. But when you play these things, you learn how to like role play a superhero and how there are positives, advantages, and negatives and disadvantages to powers, and how powers I think, or people really think, work in the role playing world. Like this is a ton of people with comic book knowledge got together to make this into a role playing game, right? And so I've gone to multiple conventions, role playing conventions, where people who have this vast comic book knowledge make characters or run specific characters, be it the role playing game, Marvel's or DC's, and they role play these characters and run them in a sense in the way they're supposed to be ran. That being said, in Marvel's role playing book, Captain America is considered a peak human. He's not superhuman. They wrote it there. And again, this is made by Marvel. Comic book people went into this. A lot of thought and focus goes into making these role playing books because there needs to be a lot of focus and there needs to be a lot of work that goes into this so that people could run the game properly and there's not like overpowering and all this other good stuff, right? Um, that being said, in this book also, somebody like Killmonger, who we can agree is a superhuman, outstats Steve Rogers, who is peak human, like you can see here. Now, so I encourage you to go ahead and read this and check it out. You could find it online. There is a separate role playing game, and it's the Ultimate Universe, but this is the 616 universe. And again, according to 616, Steve Rogers is peak human. Now, so let's head over this somewhere. Okay, so let's head over to DC and how DC has Deathstroke ranked as. And DC has Deathstroke ranked as with the strength of 7. That's strength is what strength is. It's how much somebody can lift or how much force is being punched, all that other good stuff, right? And so let's see what somebody, they give us an actual a way to measure it. Let's see what somebody at the strength of 7 can do. Somebody with the strength of 7 can lift 3 tons. Now, how one does it is all depending on the role, but there you have it. If you're lifting 3 tons, you're superhuman, right? We can all agree on that. And this is coming from DC themselves. So I hear you barking. What about a third. What about a third party that isn't governed by DC or Marvel? How would you build a character if you were going to build a Captain America character or a Deathstroke character? I got you. Here we go. I got you. And the way we do that is we talk about champions, the hero system, and it's pretty much open world. It's pretty much open world heroes. Like you could create any hero you want in this, and you're not governed by DC rules or Marvel rules. There are rules. I'm not saying this is a free for all, and there's obviously limitations. It's a fun system. If you haven't played it, please find somebody and get a game going. It's really awesome. It's really great. But let's say you wanted to make a Deathstroke or a Captain America character. Well, I have seen these characters creatively remade into their own things as people have played characters based on their favorite hero, Captain America, or based on their favorite villain, Deathstroke. I've also reached out to my former GM, who has 60 plus years of comic book knowledge and role playing knowledge, and I asked him, how would you build a Steve Rogers character and a Deathstroke character? Like, how would you rate their strength? And per my experience in this game, when running a Marvel game, he's peak human. We're running this type of game, running a Marvel game, he's peak human. Obviously, you can't go. There is a cap to how much strength that somebody could get, but he is capped at that strength where he's at. That being peak human. However, let's talk. But here, when they're building this character, when somebody says, I want a Captain America type character, they're started somewhere below where they're going, because it gives your character something to grow to, for you to get points and add to your strength, but you have a cap. So where does his strength lie? Well, let me show you. So most people, and when I say most people, I mean 99% people who run a Captain America gimmick will start at 20 and cap at 23. Now, I've seen some instance where somebody has gotten to 25, but that's really pushing it, and you must really know the GM because he likes you a lot. But let's talk about what you can do at these two, or at least at these three numbers. So at 20, you're lifting a chariot and a grizzly bear. At 23, you're lifting a sailboat, a cow, and a horse. Now, let's get to the extreme parts where you've paid your GM off and you want to have a little more strength, and you get to 25. Well, there, you can lift a sports car, a horse, and rider, like all in one. So that's pretty much it, right? Now, again, you're not getting to the 25 unless you've paid somebody else, or you've got some boost or something. There's the end of a game, right? And everybody's putting all their power into this person, or something random like that. That's when you're getting to 25. But for the most part, across the board, all these people with comic book knowledge, all these people with role playing knowledge say that Captain America is at 23 at most. And that's not crazy, right? I mean, like, that is considered superhuman, but it's not like he's super. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he can do some things, but he's not doing big things. Now, when it comes to Deathstroke the Terminator, it is agreed upon across the board that Deathstroke's cap is going to be 30. That's his cap. He's going to be 30. So if you're a GM playing it and you got a villain and you made a Deathstroke type villain, he is definitely starting off at 30 because that's the cap and he's a strong character and you want your team to go against him. But let's see what you could do at strength of 30. According to this, you could throw a small car. It starts us off with small car, which was such a focus in this whole rivalry. A large missile. And then, of course, he could do everything below that, which is throw a medium missile, a sports car, a horse, a rider, a sailboat. And this is more realistic because in DC's book, my man is throwing 30. And this is more realistic when it comes to the terms of role playing, right? This is a more, in my opinion, this is a more achievable thing, a better thing, because in DC's own book, they got my man throwing around 3 tons, okay? So, and you don't get into like the 3 tons, and he wouldn't get into 3 tons, right? But you don't get into 3 tons until you hit 35. But that person would never reach that because he capped off at 30. So in a nutshell, DC considers Deathstroke superhuman, as they gave him that strength level that allows him to throw around 3 tons. Marvel considers Captain America peak human, as written by them in this book. Because again, there's no reason to downplay Captain America in this book because you're not playing Captain America. Captain America is there to be kind of like if your team's getting ready to die and the GM wants to be nice and say, okay, I'm going to save you guys. Out of nowhere, in comes Captain America. Like, you're not playing Captain America. You would create your own character within the realm of this world. So there's no reason for Marvel to be like, talk down Captain America, right? So he is peak human, where somebody like Killmonger is like outstatting him everywhere. Now again, it's how you play the character, but I'm just putting in perspective that Marvel does not feel like Cap is a superhero, or like Cap is a superhuman. He's peak human. However, over here in DC obviously considers Slade Wilson a superhuman. I mean, he's throwing around 3 tons. He's a problem if he shows up with your team. Now, collectively, the world of role playing and people with comic book knowledge have put Cap in a superhero or in a superhuman category, letting him get the ability to throw like small, like a sailboat and stuff like that. So the community at large, comic talk, right, considers Steve Rogers as superhuman. But also in that same note, we also consider Deathstroke as superhuman and wildly more powerful than Steve Rogers. And that being said, if it came down to the ones and twos, who's throwing Jack Johnson and Tom O'Leary, it's going to come down to Deathstroke, because at the end of the day, Cap fell asleep. That's tons and tons of fighting experience lost. Whereas my man Deathstroke is out there facing dudes on like a whole nother level of whatever. There's actually like me personally, Captain America is superhuman, and Deathstroke is also superhuman. But there's a guy on here called Detective Comics. He does like these cool little like rundowns. I reacted to one of them, but on it says street tier hero or street tier. Heroes, right? And how Batman could beat them, and Captain America's on street tier. Like, people consider Captain America street tier. That is crazy to me. But I mean, yay, it's your world, dog. You know what I mean? Do what you want. But again, collectively, thanks to this rule book, people believe that Captain America is superhuman, but they also believe that Deathstroke is a double superhuman. Like, he's superhuman, right? And again, because of the sleep or the frozenness that Captain America fell in, Deathstroke's out here just handling business. He's like fighting metahumans. He's fighting the Justice League. On that alone, like, I think, and he's mostly alone all the time, or most of the time, mostly alone all the time, mostly alone. Doing this on the ones and twos, I think that alone, Deathstroke would definitely. It wouldn't be a wash, but it's not going to be hard for Deathstroke to do. It's gonna be really cool. I would rather see Deathstroke fight somebody like Taskmaster, because I feel like that, like, he would get, like, that would be a fight. But again, like I said, Deathstroke is superhuman. Deathstroke would definitely just beat Captain America, and those are my vibes. That's what I think. That's how I feel. So that's my 2 cents in this whole thing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and follow me, you nerds.